The Digimon trading card game has digivolved several times throughout the course of these last 3 years. While normally my what if episodes dive immediately into conceptual cards, today, things will be a little different with history and then future predictions. Protection has been one of the most powerful abilities in the Digimon trading card game, because let's be real, building up into this really powerful Digimon and then losing it to a loose option card in security can be a downer. In the early infancy of the Digimon trading card game, option cards were the ultimate form of removal. Whether you hit Cocytus Breath or Gaia Force, you knew a Digimon was being removed. But with the introduction of Special Booster 1.0, players got their first look at real protection in the form of fan favorite War Greymon. While this Digimon doesn't have innate protection, it does give players the ease of mind when it comes to attacking into security. Security bomb threats were no more. In some ways, Bandai introduced another form of protection with the keyword jamming. It didn't matter what your DP was, as long as you didn't find that option card that removed your Digimon from the board. At the time, having the protection from options didn't mean anything for War Greymon if it ran smack dab into an Omnimon. But alas, things would change many sets later. BT5 would be the first set that offers a Digimon with protection from bounce or deletion based effects, in the form of Blitz Omnimon, assuming you had a level 6 Digimon to yeet from under it. And EX1 would introduce the first Digimon that can't have its DP reduced at all. But BT9X Record would introduce the first real protection cards that would forever change the Digimon trading card game. Greymon X would be the first Digimon that prevents a Digimon from being bounced or deleted by card effect, if it had Greymon or Omnimon in its name, by stripping 2 of the same level sources. And Garurumon would have battle protection if it had Garurumon or Omnimon in its name, by also stripping 2 same level sources. And this was just the beginning. Now we have cards like Chaosdramon X, and another variant of Greymon X and Garurumon X incoming. What could, or would constitute as protection? Generic red decks have other forms of protection already in the form of a delicate plan, to give that BT1 War Greymon effect. And of all the other archetypes that are commonly played, they all have the same form of protection. Blue decks with source stripping already have a means to build a stack if it goes away in the form of Gomamon and BT14. Honestly, I would love to see more of this moving forward with decks that source strip. Yellow decks have Barrier, and green decks right now currently have Evade, and in the future, Indomitable. And black generically has DP Prevention, de-digivolve Protection, or sometimes Invulnerability for a turn. But what are some other ideas? Here are some other concepts I think Bandai could implement for protection, in other colors and archetypes moving forward. The first one being the Plant archetype. Plant, Vegetation, and Fairy Digimon first started out as predominantly bringing out extra bodies and reducing Digivolution costs. But in modern day Digimon, 3 years later this archetype has evolved quickly into a quick way of bringing out multiple bodies in a single turn, before going into boss monsters like Bloom Lordmon, Hydramon, and Quartzmon. But the real question, how does one balance around these types of decks? In some matchups, clearing all the small Digimon in play results in green having no comeback because they've used up all the resources in their hand, and most of the time have to start back fresh in the raise area. Frankly, I feel green might benefit from existing effects like Decoy, as you can sacrifice one green Digimon in place of another. Alternatively, because Plant and Vegetation Digimon are plants, you could start hybridizing the green element with purple. When this Plant or Vegetation Digimon is deleted, play one level 3 Plant or Vegetation Digimon from your trash without paying its cost. This plays to plants sowing their seeds before they die to bring new life, and in a way, their offspring. Maybe in the future with Palmon X, Togemon X, and Lilymon X, a new variant of them could offer an effect like All Turns, when one of your suspended Digimon would be deleted or returned to the hand or deck by a card effect, trash 2 cards of the same level to prevent that Digimon from leaving play. Meaning if you trash 2 same level cards, keep one of your suspended Digimon. But I cringe at the thought of protection for Quartzmon. Maybe it's just a suspended Fairy, Plant, or Vegetation Digimon instead. But enough of Plants, Vegetation, and Fairy Digimon, let's look at another archetype. Archetype number 2, Insectoid Digimon. I know many players like myself are still waiting for actual good support for Tentomon that makes sense. Because outside of Grandis Kuwagamon, Bandai's attempts at Insectoid Digimon have largely been Shivamon, Green Hybrid, and Hercules Kabuterimon. With the restriction of Promo Grand Kuwagamon, Insectoid decks aren't as prevalent as they used to be. And here's a creative way I'd love to see Insectoid Digimon get protection. What is something most insects do? They molt their skin. So what if, in combination with Izzy Azumi's Curiosity of Knowledge, had built-in effects that could place Digimon of higher level under Digimon as their top Digivolution source? Then there was a reactive effect that purged the top card of the stack and pseudo-digivolve. Say you had a Tentomon card that let you, for one memory, place one level 4 or lower Digimon under it as its top Digivolution source, and draw 1. And it gains Armor Purge until the end of your opponent's turn. Then you attack, and it's not deleted. Well, your opponent now has to deal with it. But what if there were other ways you could slot Digimon sources, or even regress them like the new Grace Novamon support? And the last protection support I would like to look more into are Royal Knights related. Omnimon has some built-in protection from bounce and deletion based effects. Ulver's Vidramon and Examon have evade and unsuspend from certain elements of their effects, while Craniamon literally cannot be affected by Digimon effects or deleted by card effects. Jessmon has some Sistermon members that provide buffs, block, or even decoy. Magnamon has Armor Purge and a very tenacious X antibody line. Gankumon X can stave off DP from being reduced. And in general, Alphamon has some protection effects as well. But what about the rest? Gallantmon, for example, has a giant shield. Why can't Galemon Growlmon lines have some form of protection that once per turn, you trash cards from the top of your deck? If you meet a certain condition, it triggers a secondary trash for both players. Why can't Leopardmon have protection similar to the green proposal based on suspended bodies, or even having decoy-like effects? And likewise, what about an actual retrain of Dynasmon and Lord Knightmon into better tribal decks? Although Purple doesn't have a lot of protection, Purple does have a lot of advantage with cycling, recycling, and reanimation when needed. While some of these Digimon played might not gain Rush, it's still not as big of a loss as Green, who honestly has nothing. Granted, this episode leaned more heavily on protection that Green could definitely use. But generally speaking, do you think protection is more readily available in some colors, archetypes, and what other type of protections do you want to see in the Digimon trading card game? Let me know your thoughts, as What If returns to a more conceptual card format, as I just haven't had the time to fully create and print conceptual cards for playtesting. This is DigiPanda, logging out.